Hello, 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 hello. Hello?
Hello.
Hello, thank you. Oh, my last question, hello, was not, I thought I heard something weird. Okay, hello, thank you. Um, hello, and I'm suddenly can't find this. Here we are. Okay. Well, coming, and I know you can't, I think you can, I can't hear me. I know you can't see me yet. I can't see myself either. Do I really want to see myself? It's all of them. Okay. Okay. Oh, the chat is. Ha! Wait. Oh my God, that was. That's right. That was you guys. Oh, thank you. They were off. I mean, they were great, but they were off. I hate them. I mean, thank you for asking. I mean, they all were very successful. Everybody loves everybody, but God, I hate. I mean, yeah, I'm glad we don't do that in college. Yes, thank you for asking. Yeah, the thing is, are you a teacher? Well, yes, that is true. I don't know. Yes. The thing is, I'm also a parent and I hate them as a parent. I mean, I've been doing them longer as a teacher than I have as a parent, but I hate them no matter what. But the only thing worse than them is if you don't have them, I guess. But ugh, anyway, and I don't know if this is clear. I actually do like teaching. I don't hate everything. I do kind of hate everything on Zoom. I kind of hate everything in the virus, but I kind of yeah. But let me see this. This is interesting. Huh. Yeah, I mean, and we shouldn't because it's all about it's a yeah, it's a discussion for another. But the bummer of all of this is like all the things that are going wrong, and like a lot of what stinks about any of we could all, you would tolerate it more from me, and I would put up with a lot. I would work a lot harder for all you guys too if we actually were alive together in the same space and not, if you weren't always in my freaking bedroom, can you guys get out of here? No, I'm kidding. But right. I don't need to tell you. Yeah. But parent teachers, look, I've never had a problem in a parent teacher conference my whole life that I know. I don't think I've always, we're going to be a nightmare, and they never are. And I'll, as long as we're stalling here. Oh, and am I stalling, by the way? For anybody who's just tuned in, if it seems like I might be stalling because I don't have the exams or something, well, that's not why I'm stalling, but it is totally true. Uh, and I am stalling. And it is true. And I'm going to repeat that again. I don't really like, so we're going to go on in physics. We're just going to go on. You're going to maybe not forgive me. And that would be, just know one thing, that every day that you still have more anxiety and less grades, just know that your grades get better, not worse. Like every day that you still don't know what's happening in your life because of me, I can at least tell you your life is not getting worse as a result of that. Like certainly not your results, for whatever it's worth. But I know this sucks, but we're going to just keep going on in physics. But as long as I am stalling or whatever, here's the one other stall. We're going to go on in physics. Okay, let me be honest for a second. But anything we can do to relate more as human beings, I think, does help us. So I'm actually going to respond in a second. I'm actually going to take the ball from Kimberly in a second and respond to something she put in the chat. But let me just tell you all what's happening. Like, we're going to go on in physics today. You're going to justifiably hate me, but you're still going to get good grades. And you will get the grades back. You will. And I'm not going to wait till the moment I finish them. I promise you'll have them. I'm certainly not going to wait for Monday to give them to you if I have them before then or whatever. But now what's interesting, the two sections of 203 that I teach are starting to diverge a little bit, and I think that's just fine. That is to say, in the other class, they totally wanted to just keep going with the material. So we went, I'm not saying it was that interesting, maybe it wasn't, but they totally went on with the material today more. You guys yesterday asked me a great question about like that had me go on going over the exam. I was totally fine with that. So you got a lot of material yesterday that they haven't gotten yet, and they got some things that you'll get next. It'll all catch up. I'm not worried about that. Plus, worse, someone could watch another section's YouTube or whatever. But what I'm saying, Zoom user, pardon me. I'm saying all this just to say what I'm really a big fan of. I'm not worried if two sections do slightly different things. I know that that'll come back around in the end, in time for exam. What I like is sections doing anything at all that works for them. What I'm saying right here is two quick things. Is that, again, I'm ready to just go on with what I'm ready to go on with. But we ended up spending all yesterday talking about a problem. I thought it was totally fine. So in a minute, like while I'm jokingly respond to what's in the chat right now or stall it, you guys, again, whoever like sort of, you could talk amongst yourselves and try to be organized, or you could just try to shout at me in the chat, but I'm going to go with whatever influence is most influential, if that makes sense. So like, if someone still wants to see something about what we said yesterday, or still wants to see, again, not grade oriented issues, because I can't, but physics wise, I'm going to go on with Newton's laws unless or until anybody asks me to do something else, in which case I'm fine to do that. And it will all work out. And you'll be tested on what we do, not what some textbook or Chegg planned for us to do. But now this thing about my mom's a teacher and I used to monitor is so funny to me. I mean, again, just in the effort of being human, so I've been teaching, right? I've been teaching since 1992. I've been teaching, for like almost 30 years, which is weird, right? And I've taught in very many different places, not always John Jay, not always college. I've taught some famous, like, if you play football, I don't know if you play football, obviously I don't play football. If you follow football, I taught Peyton Manning like a long time ago when he was still a high school student, but we all knew that he was Peyton Manning. That was very interesting. But also if you like, this is just, I'm totally name dropping. I'm just trying to be cool here. But like one parent conference I once had a long time ago with the parent of a then high school student was Susan Sarandon. I don't know the actress. You can look her up. You can Google her, whatever. You might be past her time now, I guess, but she's also really influential in politics and stuff. But Susan Sarandon, who was for a long time living with, although I met with Tim Robbins, the actor, the really tall, you could look them up. But wait a minute. Are you saying Janet is in Rocky Horror Picture? Wait, Janet Weiss. Wait a minute.
Yes, I am.
Oh my God. You know about, yes, that is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I watch it every year. I mean, I would go to the Chelsea cinema if it, if these weren't the circumstances, but yes, I am.
Okay, I'm in love. All right. Well, class over. She just got an A. Okay, I know, and some of you, like, hopefully those of you who are faster with Google than I am with culture, like, you can look up what she's talking about if you don't. It's not a reference that I knew people, but yes. And I, like, so she's talking about a movie, Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is its own thing unto itself, and it's a cult thing, and it's like not about the movie, it's about what people do in the movie theater, blah. But among other things, this movie, Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is like from like the early 70s, it has this actress Suzanne Sarandon when she's super young at the time, and she's like parading around the whole movie in her underwear. And I was like in 7th grade when I first was watching this, whatever. Like she's a pretty woman, and she's like walking around this whole crazy, overly sexed, crazy movie in her underwear the whole time. And I'm like a 7th grade boy. And I ended up watching a movie on late night TV called Il Duce, called Mussolini, The Rise and Fall of Il Duce, like a history of the Italian dictator, just because she happened to be in that also. Like I became fat, and then she's in a bunch of real stuff later on that I guess some of you know. But it's
Professor,
not.
I think I'm going to take offense that you don't think we know what Rocky Horror is.
Oh my God. All right, I think I now understand the expression "I'm totally dying." I think I know what they mean by that now. Yes, you win. I think it all. I'm so thrilled in a way. I mean, I didn't know it was a part of my culture to be proud of. Okay, so you know everything. I'm sorry, right? So can you imagine though being a 13-year-old boy being simultaneously exposed to music, sex, and Susan Sarandon through this film? And like you form whatever your opinions are of life through this ridiculous film that clearly you do know about. And then one day you're sitting there and you have to meet, and she's totally famous. And there's a line outside your door, like for people waiting to come to have parent conferences with you. And she's waiting online to meet with me because I've got her daughter in her class. She's waiting online to meet me, like made no sense. And she comes into the room to talk to me. And let me tell you, like, again, those of you, I'm talking about I'm just telling a story here just for the heck of it, just because apparently I have people we're talking about the actress Susan Sarandon. And if you see any picture of her on the web or you've seen any movie, she is like that. Her eyes are larger. I mean, I don't meet that many celebrities, and I mean, it was like having a battle with a legendary Pokemon. If that, I mean, she did not blink. She's like the most intimidating, scary, nice, real person. She's sitting there like, anyway. And then,
Wait, you had one of her children?
right? So I had, yes, Eva Amori, who, yeah, I had her daughter. This is a long time. Yeah, I did, and her daughter was really cool, actually. I mean, again, like this is, you know, that class. All right, why am I talking about this? But yes, I did. And it was a very weird moment when literally Susan Sarandon turned to me and said, so I gather that Eva wants to do her independent research paper. Again, this is in high school at the time, but I gather that Eva wants to do her independent research paper on the effects of LSD on neurotransmitters in the brain. Is that true? Susan Sarandon asks me if I'm letting her daughter do an independent research project, well, a paper. I don't think it was an experimental project. I don't know, but it was going to be a paper on the effect of LSD on, and if you've heard of Rocky Horror Picture Show, you've certainly heard of LSD. Not that they're connected, but and Susan Sarandon's asking me, is it true that my daughter is going to do a research paper on the effect of LSD on the brain? Now, the thing is, Eva had proposed that, and I had agreed because it seemed, but I hadn't really pictured this moment where the mother was going to know that much about the child's work, where she was going to be asking me, like, are you proving like this drug topic for my kid? You non-famous person, you that I had to wait online to talk to about. So I'm sitting there picturing her naked. I mean, like from my 13-year-old mind, and going blink, blink. Yeah, actually, I guess I did approve that project. Yeah, I guess your daughter is going to do a paper on LSD and its effect on the brain. That's cool, right? Like that's what you're paying a lot of private school tuition for, right? And then she says, this is a true, again, this has nothing to do with anything. I'm just making excuses for my existence because I don't have your exams, but it is true. She looks at me and says, and maybe you'll have to look up this, or maybe you won't, probably not. She goes, well, if that's really true, well, I have to ask you a question then. You see, I have access to the personal files and personal papers of Timothy Leary. Now, again, pause, maybe some people look this up, maybe they don't. Timothy Leary was like a Harvard professor from the 60s who was famous for having brought LSD to popular culture by being like a Harvard professor who did all this research on, like he sort of was part of the culture of academics and scientists who discovered this crazy drug, which is a crazy drug and which does have crazy effects on people. And it's ultimately like not legal, but now it's not. But anyway, Timothy Leary was known as like a proponent of this LSD research, and he was like a Harvard professor. So he was like, you know, crazy smart and crazy smart and smart crazy, or at least regarded that way. I never met the man. But so now Susan Sarandon literally is asking me, so I have access to and Timothy Leary is long dead at this point. And she's like, so I have access to because we were friends. Well, because of course they were, because like they're the beautiful people. And she's like, I have access to the private papers of Timothy Leary. Would it be okay, or would it be an unfair advantage if I gave my daughter? Yeah, all right, thank you. Well, you're understanding. Yeah, and she's like, can I give my daughter access to these private fucking papers while she does her research on LSD for you, Yaverbaum, you person who are not. And of course, I was like, yeah, I guess that would be okay, Susan Sarandon. I think so. Also, you could probably fire me and put my body under the bridge with a suitcase of unmarked bills, and that's probably fine too. Yeah, so that'll have, yeah, she is amazing. So, you know, yeah, she is amazing. And one last thing to try to squeeze lemonade out of this story. And everything I'm saying is true, by the way, although Eva never finished the paper, that's also true. But yeah, I know. But here's the other crazy. This is maybe a story about famous. I don't know what this is a story about, but that class, actually, that class was a high school class. It was a long time ago. It was in Brooklyn, but actually, it met at 7:45 in the morning. 3 times a week. I mean, it was a high school class, no, 7:15, and some crazy preschool hour, like definitely before 8. It was like 7:30 in the morning in Brooklyn. And this kid, Eva, Susan Sarandon's daughter, and I don't mean to be taking anybody's name in vain. This is totally a compliment, what I'm about to say. It's sort of, this kid who's like the daughter of a super famous person, Oh my God, you went to Midwood? No wonder. All right, story stopped. That to me is much more of a name drop than anything I'm saying about any Hollywood person. And I'm not kidding. That is terrible, but that's a real school. No wonder you're, okay, I'm sorry. But yeah, I love that school. Did I mention I'm from Brooklyn? Oh my God, you went, all right, sorry. I'll finish the story. Like clearly again.
Avenue J.
What's that, what?
I said, did you teach at the yeshiva at Avenue J? Like right next to the station?
Why would you think that? Why would you think I would teach at a yeshiva? No, I didn't.
I don't know. I feel like you said, yeah.
No, I didn't. It was a different school that I'm talking about, but no, I didn't teach.
Got you.
But oh my God. Well, this is a whole other conversation. And by the way, yes, you have my total pity that you have to go to school at 7:15 every morning. But I have to say, and this is to everybody, okay, could be interpreted the wrong way. I think you guys really, I am guilty about the exams. I do love this group. I hope that is coming through even on Zoom. And obviously some individuals are very active and it's just so weird to me. Like it makes a difference what school people go to, I guess is what I'm saying. And I'm saying this as a comment. And all of you who are gutting through this John Jay crap right now, and of course it's crap. I've probably given this speech before, but if I haven't, I'll give it again later. It is worth it. Your degree, it will be worth it when you get this degree on the other side, even if, or especially because of the virus, it will, the crap, and I know the crap you're putting up with, at least outside of the virus. I know what it means to be a John Jay science major, while everybody else at John Jay is not a science major, and everybody else is having a totally different experience, and you guys are slogging it. Believe me, I know. And I did some hard things in my academic background, but I think I've mentioned, I don't think I could have handled this program, and I'm not, and there's a lot of things I can handle intellectually. This program is hard, and it's worth it on the other side. And one of my weird pieces of evidence for that is, like, I could have known that Kimberly went to, couldn't have really, but like, oh my God, I can't believe that you come from some of these schools and then it actually shines out of you even in a Zoom session. It's not just Midwood, I don't mean, but I do have a special fond place in my heart for Midwood. My father went there actually, and he grew up, my dad lived on East 23rd and Avenue J, whatever. But I love Midwood, and Midwood's amazing. And it probably sucks to be there for 4 years. It's probably really, really hard, but something went right there for your education. Anyway, to everybody else, punchline, upshot of the Susan Sarandon thing, the two upshots, again, just for closure. One, that kid, the kid of the famous person, was in my stupid class every morning, whatever, it was 7:15 or 7:30. She was like the first one there, coming from Manhattan to this dumb class. And let me tell you, she knew, just like everybody else in this private school, if she had screwed up my class, she was still going to be fine. I'm sure you all know that about private school and blah, blah, blah. She was going to be fine, but she was there. And I'm not even saying she loved it. It wasn't because of I don't think she did, but she was there at the class super early, 3 times a week. And I once asked her, I'm like, Eva, how are you always here? Like everybody else is barely getting themselves in. How are you always here like so early? And she said, because her mom wakes up and makes Belgian waffles every time she has early class to make sure she gets out of the house and goes to school. Her mom makes Belgian waffles I'm sure they had a cook. I mean, I'm not being weird and I don't think her mom then drove her to school through Manhattan, but like her mom would get up and make waffles so that the kid would go. That's a famous, I don't know, there's something very classy about, I mean, maybe I'm like a sucker for that, and then maybe she beat her. I don't know, but there's something.
Professor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant at Checkers. What? Right, and Janet.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, but yeah, no, Susan Sarandon is kind of, and I, she ditched Tim Robbins, I guess well, anyway, all right, enough of all this not, but I can't believe you're responding to these things you got. What school did you go to, by the way? And wait, hold on, where'd you go? I gotta go back to gallery view. Hold on. Wait, I'm gonna ask. I have to now know, right? Don't I? Wait, where did you go? Wait. Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry. Wait, I do have to ask this. Totally. Zoom user. I assume that's a second device of someone's, and that's fine. Whoa. I assume it's a second device of someone's, and that's totally fine. But could someone possibly, even in the private chat, identify to me who Zoom user is? Just, I mean, not that I don't even know who would Zoom bomb a freaking physics class, but could we just make sure if your Zoom user device is you, could you just write me in the private chat that it's you so I know, or somewhere. But also, and then we'll go back. But now I lost where'd you? Sorry. Well, all right. But so wait, hey Sean, where did you go to school?
I live in Queens, but I went to Thomas A. Edison High School.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. That's a fine school. No, I'm totally kidding. No, that's cool. I mean, no, I'm a little bit more of a Brooklyn. I know Brooklyn better than Queens a little bit, but okay, no, that's totally cool. But why do you know Rocky Horror? You've seen? All right,
Yeah, I've seen Rocky Horror.
Great, that's great. Okay, it is brilliant. It is totally. And Queens got. Oh my God, she just said that. I didn't say. Oh my God. Okay, you guys are good. I want to know what happens in the private chat now, but all right, I'm going to go on. Nobody got the money right now, actually. I think like, who has the money right now is the Zoom company.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah. Oh God. And they could.
I actually saw she's on Forbes, like that she got like over $1 million now because of Zoom. Everyone's on Zoom.
Wait, who got $1 million because everybody's on Zoom?
Forbes did a whole article on the lady that owns Zoom now.
Oh my God. Well, I guess it's a late. All right. Well, good for her. I mean, she definitely yeah. I mean, I guess I'd rather her have it than somebody I could think of it. Not Queens get the money. Oh my God. All right. I better do physics before I really get us all in trouble. Or I better try. Yeah, for real. I could say that with confidence. I could tell you right now, even if I have not literally, I guarantee you, if I'm not going to get the money, whatever the money is, I'd much rather Heaven have it, or one of you or Sean have it. Like, if I'm not getting the money, I'd much rather see you guys get it than whoever is getting it. Right. Okay, good. We're all in agreement on that. And I expect you all to, after you get your grades and you get your jobs, and you thank me by putting me to an expensive nursing home when this is all over. Okay, or pushing me down a nice flight of stairs.
Professor.
That was totally for you.
If I get to the point of life where I don't even want to like walk, that's it. Just end it for me. There's nothing else. No pretty view from my bed could make that worth. I gotta go. If I arthritis in my ankles, it's over.
Wow. Oh my God. Well, you just had 23 witnesses to that. Oh my God. That's quite a I mean, yeah, I guess I would cut it around there too. I mean, wow. Oh no, you said.
Professor.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Let's say if like one of your higher ups wanted to see what you were doing during class and you had to show them one of these recordings, what would you do? I have no problem. Like, I absolutely love when we just talk. But like, what would you do?
All right, no, that's a very fair question. The weirdest thing is, I would just show them. So the honest thing is that I'm much less nervous in a real way about being caught with a class like this than with the fact that I don't have the exams back. If you really want to know the truth, like I'd be more scared of them seeing what I don't do than what I actually do. But but yeah, I'd probably fake it for, and that does happen. I do have people actually watch. That's a whole lot. It's a fair question, but the other thing is, and this is also why, okay, here's the serious upshot to those of you who are still those of you, Aishan, anybody who's like still here with me or in this program at all. So the cool other thing about getting a science degree, and this really is true, it really is hard to get one. Like there's a lot of moments of crises along the way, for sure. I mean, I'm talking undergrad, right? Like a lot of moments where any one of you guys, even before the virus, may have considered quitting or whatever. It will keep happening. The funny thing is that like once you get the degree, especially a certain kind of academic degree, the funny thing is that like I think what anybody would expect to see in my classes would be even worse. I mean, I think if they, first of all, I do have people watching this is a whole other thing, but there's a weird thing in academics where when you get to it, the reason everybody else resents academics or is not sure if they want to be part of it or not is, it is true if you do a certain thing that you actually, this is advice to everybody now, I'm flipping this, I'm just trying to now make something substantive out of my bullshit, but I do mean what I'm about to say. If you actually stick with this stuff, whether it's the crazy people not doing anything like me or someone else putting you through a whole lot of work that whatever you feel about, if you stick with this stuff and you actually find the part of it that you love, which is the hard part, but if you actually do what you love and you just keep doing it, at a certain point in academics, what you get a job where what you get is this weird, really weird level of trust that's way beyond what you get in any other kind of job. And it is true. And maybe sometimes it's deserved and maybe it's not, or maybe you should keep trying to deserve it, or maybe you should, like, who knows? But it is really weird, especially if you do physics or something. Like, the fact is, even within my science department, I'm saying this to all of you guys, it's really weird how it works out that I'm sitting there worshiping half the people in my science department. I am. Like Dr. Chang, unbelievable. I can't even hold a candle. I don't know how she does what she does, but she does. Or Dr. Carpy, like if you still know him, like what, like there are people in our department, or Dr. Kubik, I mean, who I absolutely could not do like anything of what they're doing. I don't understand how their mind works so powerfully, how they have things all together like they do, blah, 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 right? Okay. And I don't know what they're doing, you know, and I couldn't teach their class. I don't think. But at the same time, they'll be the first to say they have no idea what I'm doing. They think, I mean, and I know for a fact, like, because we trade, like, they have no idea what I'm doing. And they think anything I'm saying, if it makes any sense even to them, they think, and this is a compliment to them. But it's really weird how specialized science becomes, where once anybody trusts that someone's sort of doing what they're supposed to be doing in their area, everybody kind of has this idea that they don't really know. Everybody knows how deep you actually go in your own little rabbit hole, and reasonable people actually know that everybody else's rabbit hole is another rabbit hole. So the weird thing is, and again, I'm just the weird thing is why this crap is worth it to you guys that you're putting up with right now is if you actually know what it is about science that you actually love, and it would be different for each one of you, and it can change over time, but there has to be a part of it that you actually love, not just like the thought of making money out of it or something like that, because that won't work. But if there's a part of it that you actually love, that you're able to hold on to, even when each one of your classes suck or something, or advice that you get sucks, or if you can hold on to the part of science that you love, you're going to find as you go deeper and deeper that the club of people sharing that love gets smaller and smaller. And all you got to do is find the place where they need the person that does the thing that you do. And then that's it. And then you do it. And then you actually, I mean, I worry all the time, as you can tell. I mean, I'm vastly insecure about what I'm doing and stuff, but not because I'm worried that someone else is going to pop in. Whatever it's, for those of you, this is the difference in academic jobs and real jobs, is that at a certain point, you're totally, in academics, you're trying to prove something to someone somewhere, but not that way, for what it's worth. And it's worth it. I mean, if you don't do damage along the way, which I'm sure I'm doing. But anyway, fair question. I'm ignoring. Okay, I'm going back. I'm gonna, wait, what time do we have? My God. Oh, okay, we actually have time to do physics. Okay. I'm gonna we're just gonna pause. Again, you can stop me in a second. I'm gonna start something rolling just so there is, and also because now I feel all guilty about that question. What would I do if if God took a front row seat and said, well, actually, wait, for all that, Ajan just asked that, but on the other hand, we still have an unidentified Zoom user in the room that is either just someone's extra device and they're now proving that they're not paying attention at all, because why would they? Or it's a stranger come to like corrupt us with their voyeuristic desire for physics knowledge, or it is my boss coming to fire me. Like, you got a good point there. I don't know who.
I'm sorry I scared you.
No, that is actually, I mean, I think the one thing, and that's another funny thing, probably the first thing that if anybody did watch this class right now, the first thing they actually could be concerned about is why is there an unidentified Zoom user in the room, and what's that person have to do? So could someone please actually identify this Zoom user? Like, I assume it's someone's iPad. In fact, I think I even know that I think we've been down this road before. I think it's no, I don't remember. Oh, is it Abby's iPad? But someone who's got a second iPad, please let us know soon before, maybe it's Susan Sarandon. Oh my God, maybe it's Tim Robbins. Crap.
She heard you talking mad shit about her.
I mean, I'm sure she's got the technology. I mean, but yeah. No, she actually, to this day, she sits and tells stories about the day she met me. That's like her big famous name drop, that she met me. No, I'm just kidding. All right. All right. Let's go on to physics. Here we go.
Professor, do you ever think that like you're that cool teacher that we talk about?
Okay. Can I just say no and move on? Thank you. First of all, you want to know what I really think? Okay, you're stalling me again, but what I really think is it's hard for me to picture you guys talking about anything at this point. In the virus, I mean, like I hope you guys are a you guys and somehow you do still have a community, and I hope that you talk about anything. I mean, one of the reasons we do the tests the way we do is we're so scared that you guys have become so fragmented, and you can take a moment to reassure me on this. Like, this is a worthwhile topic that I would definitely defend to any other professor. Like, oh, you don't have, okay. Thank you. I'm refining to the dice. Okay, sorry. But no, I mean, one thing that's always tough at John Jay is to make like a study community, because you guys don't like sleep there. But now I don't even know how you, so if you guys talk at all, I'm thrilled. But that, I know I dodged the question. I know. But now I'm trying to, all right, I'm sorry, here we go. Now I'm all verklunked. Okay. Okay. No, wait. I want to go. So, and I know this is a little bit jostling. I don't know, but I want to go back to the physics that's just sort of on the table. The next topic after the topic of that exam was the topic of Newton's laws. Now, actually in this section, maybe it's true, maybe I did not even start this at all. Is that, I was about to think that I had actually told you what the 3 laws were, but actually in this section, and I guess I do need people's help here. Have I started Newton's, suddenly occurred to me, I don't think I've started Newton's laws at all with you guys. Is that correct?
You did. The last thing that I have in my notes is 1 Newton of force, triple equals 9 equals the net external force required to accelerate 1 kilogram by mass by, and that ended the sentence. So
oh, great.
I think we got through a lot.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. Oh, great. My totally bad. No, that's great. We did go that far. Oh, good. And I thought it was only the first day. Oh, great. Okay. Then, if that is the case, so yes, so we have the 3 laws established. I won't rewrite them again now or rebore anybody now, but we have the 3 laws. The first one is what happens when no net force is acting on something, i.e. when an object is by itself. The second law is all about when forces do act on an object, which really means the second law is all about what happens when a second object interacts with a first object. Okay, and then the third law is really all about what the nature of that interaction is. Again, just to say quick, first law is about what happens when there aren't forces. It's like the base case. Second law is about what forces actually do. But the third law is about what forces actually are. Okay, just to remind everybody, and that's a funny way to look at it, but I think it's the right way to look at it. We have to focus heavily on the second law. The second law is the mathematical one. It drives everything in physics, like from here on in. So that's what we're going to focus on. And we focus on it through the use of diagrams, free body diagrams, which maybe I had just started. Well, you'll tell me in a second, but we're going to. Okay, just to be super clear, so what we're going to do, all the mathematical predicting that we're going to do in physics will come, and really all of it ultimately will come from or boil back down to F net equals MA. What we're really saying the first 85 months of this Zoom course was spent on analyzing A, like all of what we were doing for the last, and this is why actually, no matter how hard we try or whatever, in some sense, in retrospect, the first couple of months of physics are always, in a way, incredibly boring, even compared to the rest of physics. Because all we're really doing in the beginning is expanding our understanding of the definition of A. It's all about really saying, oh, if we know something's acceleration, then we can predict its velocity. And then with that, we can predict where it will be at a certain time, whatever it is. So it's all this big focus on using the power of acceleration to make predictions. But now we get to the point in the course where we say, well, how did we know the acceleration in the first place? Like, if acceleration is an effect that really very, very shockingly fully describes what we need to know about an object, the question is, how will we know what that acceleration is, where it come from? And it gets caused, acceleration is the effect that gets caused by the sum of all forces acting on an object. Like, that's what this second law is trying to say. So the activity, the undertaking of physics, like where the hard work comes in, is for any given situation, what we really end up saying from here on in is, as long as we know all the forces acting on some mass, then we will know the acceleration of that mass, and then we'll be able to churn through all the stuff from the beginning of the semester to make whatever predictions we want. So the question becomes, like, how do we know what forces are acting on an object? If we really could identify all the force magnitudes and directions acting on a given object, then we would know what we needed to know in order to predict its motion. So how we do that is through this thing called an FBD, which stands for free body diagram. And I know I do recognize if I did start this good, but I'm trying to do it more fully now. So I'm saying, so this is welcome to free body diagrams. And of course, with everything else, I know that they've been sitting there in your lab activities for a while now. In some sense, you've been expected to deal with these things without any formal introduction to them. But here it is. And again, I do actually know that I may have already said some things about this, but okay. And again, forgive me if this part I already maybe said, but from here on, so free body diagrams, it's just it's like graphs. I mean, they are, or vectors. It's like a diagram technique that attempts to simplify very complex things. And it's so fundamental to physics, free body diagrams. I'm trying to introduce them now. They never do go away. And they always, because they're so simple and elegant, they always look like just some sort of side sketch that's kind of expressing something sort of, but we're not really relying on or using. But no, in fact, just like with vectors, if you actually take these things seriously, these diagrams, they do all the thinking work for us. We construct one of these diagrams, and then the mathematical wheels just turn nicely. But the effort comes in constructing one of these diagrams, and the idea is to make them look so simple that they look like they're not even conveying anything. But in fact, they are. So what I'm saying is, to draw a diagram, to draw what we call a free body diagram. By free body, we kind of mean we're isolating the body in space in our mind, which is a little bit weird, but a free body diagram means that you picture some mass, some object that we all our attention on one point of mass. Hold on. One point of mass. Okay, first of all, to over talk this as usual, I'm saying, you know, we're going to do F net equals MA. F net equals MA is really, really nice and simple, and it directs our attention in a simple way, but simple doesn't mean easy. There's a lot of things that F equals MA sounds like it might mean, but it doesn't actually. Like, so what I'm trying to say here is when we do F net equals MA, we focus on an M. We picture some mass, some actual material object, like could be very small, could be very big. And maybe if it's very big, we're only picturing like a point at the center of it or something, but we're picturing an actual object like a baseball or a planet or an electron, but like a thing, not a wave, or not like an energy source, or not like a gravity, like whatever that would be. We picture some mass. And what we're going to do now is we're going to try to examine all the forces acting on the mass, not the forces that the mass might be exerting onto other things in the world, but all the forces that it's receiving, because of the idea that if you add up all the forces that are acting onto a mass, you will thus find out the acceleration of that mass. That's the premise of F net equals MA, that all the F's together that are Fing some M will determine the A of that M. So in drawing a diagram, what we do is we first just draw a dot that represents the center of mass, the center of that M that we're thinking about, right? Okay, so like it's an object of focus. You have to sort of identify it in your mind. Is it a coffee cup? Is it a planet? Is it an electron? Whatever. And then we draw that dot. And then for every force acting on that dot, we're going to draw a vector arrow whose tail is at that dot. So again, let me say, I think I said it in the last page, but I have to be specific as I can. When we're going to draw a diagram now, in any situation, it's for the purpose of analyzing forces acting on some object. We picture like a central location of that object. We picture one piece of that object as it is existing in some point in space at some point in time. Like this is like a snapshot of free body diagram is. And it's a snapshot of how the whole rest of the world is interacting with that object. So for every force acting on it, we're going to draw an arrow emanating from it. And therefore, and again, forgive me if I may have already said this last time, but I'd rather say it in this clear perspective now, especially since today got funny and I got fired. Oh, and the other answer to Aishan's question is tenure. Okay, which is quite a controversial thing. So if I'm going to do a free body diagram here. I'm trying to teach free body diagrams in general, like, you know, it's like a technique, like vectors in general are a technique, but I'm going to teach it example by example, right? So the first example I'm thinking of is the example of the first case I'm picturing is free fall. Now, and I think I said this to you, well, again, just to remind, free fall by definition, free fall if I say an object's in free fall, and this is based on that first exam, it doesn't necessarily mean the object is velocitizing down, right? To be in free fall doesn't actually necessarily mean that you're moving down. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're falling. You could be actually on your way up and be in free fall, or you could be like a projectile on your way off to the side, like in lab 4. But you might be velocitizing in any kind of complicated way if you're in free fall. But if you're in free fall, what you're doing is accelerating always at 9.8 meters per second squared or whatever toward the ground. That is, to be in free fall by definition, just to remind you, this is kind of important, means the only force acting on for an object, for M to be in free fall, when something's in free fall, it means the only force acting on it, the only ongoing, continued, applied force acting on it is the pull from planet Earth's center. That pull we call gravity because we have a name for it, but that name just means that, just the idea that we observe that things apparently are being pulled toward the center of Earth all the time. Now, at the moment I'm saying this right now, I'm not claiming that I know why or how mathematically gravity works. Just like at the time that this is first developed by Newton, at this moment, Newton's not making any claim or like, it doesn't matter if we think we understand why gravity is what it is. We don't want to be fooled by the name, the word gravity. The word just means, as far as I know at this moment, that shit falls. That if I leave things alone, it looks like they're being pulled toward the center of the Earth, even though the Earth is not touching them. I don't know how it's doing that, but I just seem to see that it's happening all the time. So if the only force acting on an object is that gravitational force, that force from the center of Earth, then we say that that object's in free fall. Okay, that's like a definition. Now, if it's in free fall, and I've now fully specified the situation, I can draw a diagram of that situation back here. Like I'm saying, let's do the free body diagram for case 1, an object in free fall. I'm not actually asking, I'm telling, I know I'm just babbling here now, but I'm saying the free body diagram of this case of free fall of an object M would look like this. It would have that dot, and it would have one arrow pointing down, that one downward arrow being an arrow representing the strength, being the pull of Earth that I just know is there, and it's pointing down for the obvious reason that I believe Earth is pulling my mass down. Okay, that's free fall. That would be the whole diagram. One force, one arrow. But, and again, forgive me if I already, did I explain the difference between mass and weight to this group? Did I address mass versus, I feel like I did not, and I feel like I want to, but if I did, I won't do. Could anybody verify, did I talk about mass? Like, it would be very explicit. Now, I know I might have used the words, but did I literally say, here's the difference between mass and weight to anybody? Question mark? Thinking no. All right, I'm going to keep, okay, I'm losing people by the
I don't think so.
It's like the worst question for a teacher to ask. No, I think you're right. I think I didn't. But I know that's like me saying like, you don't have it in your notes, but I did, ha. No, okay, yeah, I think I did not. And honestly, if it doesn't rush back to your mind with glaring, painful memory of boredom, then it's worth me saying again anyway. So yeah, okay, cool, thank you. I totally appreciate it. She went to Midway. No, she did good. Just wait. Queens, whatever. No. Can I put? No, I'm not. All right. So I didn't. So here's what I want to say. So I'm going to the next page. I'm saying, whoop. I'm saying this, like, and this is like everything in physics, right? Physics, we're trying to break down the universe into its simple parts, space, time, stuff. The simpler we look at stuff, the not necessarily easier, it becomes harder. But that's what we're always trying to do in physics, is breaking everything down to its simple parts. So we're looking at a simple diagram here of just an object just falling by itself, okay, or just being pulled by nothing but Earth. So we put one arrow in that diagram. It represents the pull of Earth. But now I want to know, how do I label that arrow? Like, what? I don't want to put numbers in. I'm going to use these diagrams in order to generate numbers. So I want them to be general. I want like the name for that arrow. What that arrow represents the pull from Earth, but we have a name for that. It's called weight. Let's be super clear. And this really, I know you've seen something like this, and they make a big deal about this in 6th and 7th grade and stuff, but it really actually is a thing. Weight is just the word for well, okay. Weight is the word, is just a synonym for gravitational force. It really is. Weight, your weight is how hard planet Earth, oh, I guess I did, well, yeah. Your weight is the strength with which The center of planet Earth is pulling down on you. Again, for reasons I don't quite yet know, but I just know that it seems to be happening. But specifically what I'm saying here is weight is the word for that force. Literally, weight is measured in newtons in the same way that any force is measured in newtons. Weight is just one particular force. It's the force of gravity. But your weight is the number of newtons with which Earth pulls down on you. Okay, that's what I'm saying so far. That's what weight means, as opposed to mass, which is just your, well, I'll be more clear about that in a second. But if I want to know anything mathematical or numerical about your weight, whoa. Oh, sorry. Okay, and again, so I'm taking this simple thing, this simple picture of the simple situation of free fall. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying this like elemental thing of the one arrow picture of a one object just falling toward the earth. And I'm gonna apply Newton's second law. Like in other words, we're trying to figure out how all this works together. We're starting with this simple example to see how Newton's second law, how we use this picture to generate any information from Newton's second law. So here we go. But obviously the whole purpose of this is to be able to see how to do it in slightly more complex examples. But we say, okay, Newton's second law says, any m that you look at, you're going to add up all the f's acting on that m in order to determine its acceleration. Or perhaps, since it's an equation, maybe you know some object's acceleration, and from that, maybe you'll infer what all the forces acting on it are. Okay, but whatever it is, here's how it goes. Our first example here, and again, knowing that you actually have had already to struggle with this in the lab, but so net f arrow, like which also sometimes is written. You can also write this sometimes. F net, same thing. Sum of all the f's, f net, same thing, means adding them all up. But the reason I keep putting the arrow symbol over the f, super important. The reason I keep putting the vector symbol over the f and the a is to remind us that this is a vector equation. So what it really means to add up all the forces, what it ever means is you add up all the arrows going in a certain axis, and then subtract from that all the arrows going opposite that along the same axis. And that will give you the acceleration along that axis. Like that's what the arrows mean, that we're going to look at what arrows are doing one axis at a time. And where are we going to get those arrow vectors from our diagram? That's the purpose of the diagram. So now I'm saying a complicated thing. In this case, it's not going to be that bad. In this case, in other words, so what we have to do is we look at all the arrows in our diagram and we put them into the left side of F net equals MA. The whole purpose of the diagram is to tell us what actually to plug in or substitute in or whatever in for the left side of F net equals MA. So now in this case, with all my talking, we only have one arrow here in free fall. We have one arrow. The label for that arrow was weight. So again, I'm saying, so here we have this. Now here in this case, Okay, here in this case, and I'm overdoing this because, again, F net means add up all the forces. It's a little bit tricky sometimes to know how to do that. We're starting with a case where there's only one force to add up. So we're adding it to itself. That's all there is. And that one force is weight. So according to this law, what we have is a phone that's ringing. Okay. What we have is, if we're saying the sum of all forces equals the mass times the acceleration in a certain direction, then here we have weight equals ma. Okay, if you're in free fall, the weight, the force of the earth pulling down on you is precisely and wholly, totally responsible for your acceleration. If you're in free fall, again, like if I weren't in free fall, if I was sitting on a desk, which is what we'll do next, then there's other forces also acting, like the force from the desk. And then they all together add up to produce an acceleration, which like might be zero. But here I'm in free fall, so there's only one force acting. That force is my weight. So my weight equals my ma. Well, the thing is, right, we have this. Right, we have F net equals ma. F net means all the forces. Here we're looking at a case where there's only one force, and it's called the force of weight. So weight must be equal to ma in this case of free fall, right? But in free fall, and it looks like we're running around in circles, and it looks like I'm defending myself again, but I am. In free fall, we know, in free fall, the thing that we already know is the acceleration rate. Like, of course, all equations can work backwards or forwards. When it happens, the knowledge that I happen to have by the definition of free fall is that the object's already falling at like 9.8 or 10 or whatever, or 32 feet, whatever you want to call it. So whatever that is that number that we call G, like by definition. Right, and lowercase g, you could call it 9.81, or you could round it to 10, or you could pick whatever units. But that's what we mean by that lowercase g number, is the constant rate of free fall acceleration. Therefore, what I'm saying, it's actually not a small deal. I'm saying that from here, well, we just use the case of free fall to show that actually the force with which planet Earth pulls on any mass is a certain number of newtons. That number of newtons is the number of kilograms of mass times 9.8 meters per second squared. Okay, I'm saying just to be clear, and I know you've heard this a million times in chemistry or this or that, but like mass, right? Mass is the intrinsic an intrinsic property of an object. Like how much mass something has, how many kilograms it has. What yes, that means how big it is in some kind of sense. But what kind of sense? Like, and I know you've heard this before. Like it's not the same as volume. It's not the same as density. What actually is mass? Well, whatever it is, it's the thing that's measured in kilograms. Let's start with that. We know that mass is measured in kilograms. The best way to measure it is on an inertial balance, which doesn't really tell you anything about it. It tells you how to compare one thing's mass to another thing's mass, but it doesn't really tell you what it is. What it is, what mass is, what kilograms are, is resistance to acceleration, to resistance to changes in motion. Like, let me dwell on that for 1 second. I'm really saying, if you really want to know what mass is, and this is true, really what mass is at its core level is a definition provided by Newton's second law. Newton's second law arguably is the definition of mass. That is to say, what mass is, and I actually do believe this, what mass is the constant of proportionality between force and acceleration. Meaning what it really is if something is really massive, that means you have to push it a lot to get it to accelerate to a certain rate, right? Like if more specifically, if I'm twice as mass, and I'm saying all this to make a contrast in a second. Again, I apologize if this is like all old news, but if I am twice as massive as you, what that means is if you want to get us both up to the same speed in the same time, or you want to slow us both down from some given speed to zero, like, right, or you want to turn our direction, like it could mean anything, but you want to change our motion. If I'm a ball that's twice as heavy as you, that means I'm twice as hard to catch, right? It means that you'd have to exert twice as much force to get me to slow down from the same rate to zero in the same amount of time as you. That's what it means to be massive. It's that it's harder to speed up or slow down or turn. To m is to resist a's in the presence of a net f. And that's like literally what it is. It's not a consequence of it. It's the meaning of it. Meaning, final way to put this, that I want to draw the contrast, and I think someone just came in. Oh, sorry. Meaning that if you could picture a 1 kilogram mass, like a half of an apple or something like, like a half of an apple. If you're holding, or a tennis ball or something in your hand, and you're picturing, it's kind of hard to push this, like this tennis ball is easier to push forward than a bowling ball is. I'd have to push a bowling ball like 4 times as hard in order to get the bowling ball to go forward. Well, whatever comparison you make in your mind like that, what I'm trying to stress here is that would be the exact same comparison as you'd make on the moon. Like however hard it is to bowl, literally bowl, like bowling, however hard or easy it is to bowl on Earth should be the exact same hard or easiness on the moon, however heavy a ball is on Earth, however massive. It will be just as massive on the moon, meaning it would take just as much force to horizontally accelerate that thing on the moon. That's what mass is, independent from space to space, from place to place. However, that's all as opposed to what we just established now. What we're now saying is that, on the other hand, weight is not a resistance to anything. Weight is not specifically invoked in the second law or any other law. There's no law about anything. I mean, well, there is, but there's no law about weight in general. Weight, weight, first of all, is not measured in kilograms, right? But it's also totally deceptive to say it's measured in pounds. Well, yes, weight is measured in pounds, but that's how we measure it in the American system of units, which don't have kilograms or newtons in them in the first place. Like, that gets very confusing when people think of, I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't think of it as mass is in kilograms and weight is in pounds, because that's apples and oranges. That's comparing 2 completely different systems. So it doesn't actually tell you what the difference between the terms is. What weight is measured in newtons. The weight of something is its mass in kilograms times the acceleration due to gravity. That's what we just established. Like, as it's so simple, but it's actually a thing that we just established 2 pages ago in the diagram. From now on, when I say mass, I mean m. When I say weight, I mean mg. So there's m and there's g and there's now mg. Of course, they're all related, but they are 3 very distinct things. Like mg equals So you have an M, no matter where you go. If you have a mass of 30 kilograms, then that is your mass, even if you go to the moon. And that means that is how difficult it is for someone to horizontally accelerate you, like literally horizontally. Like if I have twice the mass as you have, then I'm twice as hard to catch horizontally or to throw horizontally. But then your weight is your mg. Your weight is actually a particular force acting on you from planet Earth. It is measured in newtons like any other force, and it's directly proportional to your mass. The more massive you are, the more weight you'll have. But it's also directly proportional to factors determined by the planet you're standing on. That's what the lowercase g is. So that if you, with all of your mass, stand on the moon, you're going to be just as hard to throw horizontally or catch horizontally as you would have been here. But you're going to be a lot easier for me to lift up. Like if I want to lift you up, I now have to counter your weight, which is actually going to be a lot smaller on the moon. But, so there's only so many different ways I could say it, but weight is a particular force. So actually, I will say this. Oh, sorry, I'll go back to, well, I'll go back. And I know, what do I know? Oh, yes, okay, I know the time. I know this got, I'm trying to make, this got very Englishy, but there's one more word I'm going to just introduce here to get out of the way, a word that you hear all the time from physics, but I'm sort of trying to put in its cage here with all this. What I'm saying right now is, like, we're dealing with F net equals ma. I'm saying that your M is your general resistance to any and all forces. Like how M you are, how massive you are, is how much you don't want to change your velocity. That's really what your M is, right? M is inversely proportional to A given some constant F. The more massive you are, the less you're going to accelerate in response to a given force. Again, that does not mean the less you're going to move or anything like that. I have no idea how people are moving. They all asked you how they started. Like, I don't know how you were moving a moment ago, so I don't know how you're moving now. But I know that if you're really massive, you're not going to want to change the way you're moving very much. You'll either want to keep going, you want to keep going at the same velocity, and the same, whether it's zero or not. That's what your mass is. Your weight is a particular force acting on you. It's not a resistance to any force at all. And it's not, and it does happen to be always there because planet Earth is always there, but it is a force acting on you. Last thing I'm trying to say to clear up the English here, and then we'll go, I'm saying that the one word that you hear all the time, just to be really clear about one word that's like a dangerous word in it to be misunderstood or whatever. If you ever hear the word inertia, and it's not a bad word, but if you ever hear the word inertia, or you hear about the law of inertia, or you hear, oh, this and this are happening, but then because of inertia, this was fighting inertia, and then the inertia force came and made the thing, blah, blah, blah. Let's just get super clear what inertia is. I personally don't use the word that much because I think it can get, but when I use it, this is what I mean by what inertia is. Inertia is actually a shorthand for the phrase inertial mass. And inertial mass is just literally that, the M in F equals ma. Inertial mass means mass. And what together that means is inertia is that property of any object that wants to just keep doing what it's doing motion-wise. That property of maintaining constant velocity of a equals 0, whether the velocity is 0 or not, whether you're moving or not moving, the idea that it requires some outside influence to change the way you're moving. It requires an outside influence to actually change your speed or direction, whether it is to speed you up or to slow you down or to turn you. It requires an outside influence to do that. In the absence of the outside influence, you won't do that. That concept is called inertia. I'm saying what that really is your mass. Your mass is your inertia. Inertia, in other words, what I'm really saying, inertia is not a force. There's no such thing as the inertia force or the inertial force or the force of inertia or anything. Forces will battle on an object. Like one force will push an object forward, another force will maybe push it back, and the net result of those two things will be its acceleration. But inertia never comes in as any of those waging influences. Inertia is just the M in F equals ma. Inertia is the first law. It's what would be happening if nothing were happening. It is inertia is the base state that an object is left to if it is not influenced, pushed, or pulled by any other objects, just to make that super clear. So inertia is kilograms. Weight is newtons. Okay, therefore, final conclusion. We obviously, and I apologize for everything in the whole universe except for the really good, nice things like pink rabbits and legendary Pokemon and like lots of money that will all go to rebuild Queens because it needs it, because it's gross. I mean, because it's like as cool as Brooklyn, sort of. What I'm saying right here is that all of this talk was about one simple diagram we just made. We're going to make more complicated diagrams starting Monday when you have your grades. But no matter how complicated our diagrams ever get, the takeaway here is and there's the last thing I'm writing. I'm sorry, I'm putting the cannoli down. I'm putting the weapon down. You do get the cannoli thing if you get all those other references. Every FBD that we ever draw, they will get more and more complicated. They'll have tons and tons of arrows, but every FBD will start with a downward arrow labeled MG. This is the last thing I'm saying. I actually am serious. Every single diagram, it will have tons of other arrows in it. They'll be labeled as they are, but the first arrow you draw in every single diagram is an arrow called MG, which represents the weight of the mass being depicted in that diagram, because every single object has weight, and weight is the hardest one to remember to write if you don't remember to write it first, because you don't see it. So every single diagram is going to have a downward arrow called MG. There might be other arrows as well, but every object has weight. That's all I'm saying. I'm very sorry. I really, well, oh, it's one thing. Okay. Yes, you never did find out who the Zoom user. Okay. I'm done. I really am going to miss you all after you all kill me. But I will see you Monday. You will see grades. I will also see you in 204. I really hope. But blah, blah, blah. Could anybody say goodbye or something and then I'll shut up? Or
Thank you, Professor. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Professor.
you guys very much. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank
See you
you.
Monday.
See you Monday. Yes, thank you very much. I wasn't trying to force. Oh, yes, I was. Okay, thank you guys very much. Really.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.